Greetings everyone. I'm hoping to connect with some people today, like really connect. And a part of the beauty of being on YouTube or any platform for that matter is that you have the ability to connect with people across the globe. That is a beautiful thing. And so regardless of where you're from or where you come from or where you're situated, you can leap boundaries and cross miles with this camera and with this technology called the World Wide Web, and I'm hoping to do that in this video. First question I'm going to ask you is, what does the word hexagram? I have notes here that I'm going to go through and then trash it out, and hopefully at the end of this video I can make a very valuable point, because we always look at our problems and we're not looking at the solution. We're looking at our smell, the stench, but we're not looking at what's causing it. First thing I want to say is I think children teach us how to behave and nature teaches us how to live. And as beautiful as nature is, it can be very cruel, it can be very unkind. And when nature rears its head, mankind find a way to come up from under whatever she leaves behind. No matter how tragic the situation is, we bounce back. Therefore, if nature can be so cruel and we can overcome that, then why can't we overcome things that mankind do? So we know our issues, we know the problems we face individually and collectively as a people, and too much time has gone in us just staying down in the dirt, wallowing in self-pity, whether it be individual or collectively. We do that a lot, and instead of trying to find solutions to our problems, we just accept them. I'm sure you agree with me thus far. Okay, so in my search for meaning, in my search to know more about myself and my environment, I stumbled upon a book, and I'm not going to name that book right now, but because I want to challenge some individuals to speak to me in this video. And I first want to say to you, what does the word hexagram, it's Hexagam, mean to you? I'm hoping to connect with some people on a spiritual level today and point out that for many of us, because we have refused to move past one book that was offered to us, whether the things that are in there are of use to you or valuable to you or lead you or guide you, I'm sure there are things in there that even I can say, you know what, when I read this thing, it keeps me or brings me through certain storms. So I'm not knocking that book, but I'm saying we stay stuck in that particular book, and we don't look for answers everywhere else. We're not looking for answers within and outside of ourselves. So I stumbled upon this book, and I'm searching, and a lot of what I'm reading, it's discussing the oracle, the Chinese oracle. Tell me which book this is if you know. And exploring ideologies and philosophy of the Chinese people. I needed to do that. I needed to go search more, because I really don't know that much about, I've read and studied a little bit about the Chinese Revolution and stuff like that, and oftentimes when this is relayed to us, who's telling the story? Just pretty much like individuals tell the story about slavery, and they somehow justify slavery and say that economically it was a good thing. So you have to see who's writing the book and who's telling the story for you to be able to look at it with any kind of unbias, if I can put it that way. So we're talking about this hexagram. What does it mean to you? Explain in the comment section. But what I took from it are these 3 key questions, and I'm going to try to link that to understanding why I said earlier in a previous video that there are so many conditions at work that fuel the kind of Jamaica that we see now. There are so many things that are happening below the radar that causes our people to be the way they are this day. And I'm not justifying their behavior. I'm not making excuses for them. I'm just saying it is what it is, because we have refused to move past surface and to dig deep, to look at what it is about us as a people, not just Jamaican, but black people or other people of color that find themselves not growing. Because in the community that I live, I look around me and I see people growing as a community. I see people growing as a group. And when you look around the world, you see these alliances that are built with different groups, and they are winning. And we are crying. Now, that doesn't mean that there are not folks within our community that is winning as well. But many of us are not winning because we refuse to use nature and even a child to teach us. Now, the first question is, what are the unique contributions? What unique contributions are you making in this world, or even in your own life? Two, where is the common ground? So what common ground is there between you and yourself, or you and someone else, that would allow you to achieve a certain end? And see, how will your life change if your group expand? Have you ever thought of that? Do you think the typical black person get up every day and say to themselves, what can I do to change in order for my group to expand? Well, these are questions that are asked of the oracle, the Chinese oracle. Now, according to the oracle, it says people in harmony in the wild, creating success, fruitful to cross the great river, a noble one's constancy bears fruit. So, people in harmony in the wild have the ability to create success. Once you're in harmony, not just with yourself, but with each other in your group, then you have the ability to create success. And you're fruitful to cross the great river. So again, this harmony allows you to bear fruit, so you can spread your wings, extend yourself, and go wherever you want. So we hear about Chinese people in Africa, in the Caribbean, in all regions of the earth at the moment. And you usually hear people talk about the Chinese with quite a lot of disdain, contempt, because we're feeling they're coming to our country, or they're coming to our space, to do business and to exploit and to this and that. And we sometimes say, well, they're not hiring any of our people, or if they do, the money is minimum wage, and all the excuses that we come up with to hate or dislike the Chinese people. And they're winning. And my thing is, if I come to your house and I see you with something that you have discarded, you throw it in the garbage, or you don't see it or value it, and I decide that I want to take that thing and make it into a commodity that other people will want, including yourself, you're going to hate me. Am I supposed to stop doing what I'm going to do because you're hating me because I have vision and I'm able to see something that you disregard? I see it. I see value in it. I produce this thing. I sell it back to you, and you're vexed with me for that. And I think that's what's happening in Jamaica, with people recognizing what we have, see the value that we should be producing for ourselves, but we have neglected and refused to acknowledge in many cases. So we see them winning, we see the Chinese people winning, and we're vexed with them for winning. And the thing is, if they're left right now, the very thing that they're using to capitalize on to make themselves and their future generation stable, we would abandon it. We wouldn't even continue or carry on. So it's not just government, it's individuals in Jamaica that doesn't have that right mind, starting with not having harmony. Okay, so it says people in harmony in the wild, creating success, understand that if I come out of the wild and join forces with persons in other space, as long as we have harmony within self, we can cohesively gain one particular thing. We have one goal, one aim, one destiny. So the people create harmony with one another wherever they have like mind and find a common cause. Black folks don't think of a common cause that we can surround ourselves and work on and build together on, or overcome the physical confines and boundaries that are placed around us. They don't. People create harmony with one another as long as you are of a like mind and you're going to find common cause. So if I come to you with an idea, it doesn't matter how fantastic it is. If we're not of like mind, the first thing you're going to do is tell me why it won't work. Do you know those negative Nellies? Oh, no matter how brilliant your idea is, it won't work because they're not of like mind. Do you hate these individuals? Do you get angry with these folks? No, you don't. You just separate yourself from those individuals. So, according to the oracle, it says that you must seek out common ground where you can meet beyond the familiar boundaries that usually define the limits of people. That says people like us, this is happening to us, look what they're doing to us. Instead of having the limitation of saying, look what they're doing to us, why aren't you saying, well, what can we do to move past the stigmas, move past the disrespect or the neglect that you receive from other folks who are out in the world coming together, in harmony. The group might not be altogether cohesive, but the things that are necessary to build that group, they're finding it. They're standing beside it. They're looking past differences within that group because they have a common idea, a common goal, a cause. It says you must come from confines of your space to form alliances. So some years ago, Chinese people were not even allowed to have more than one child because of overpopulation. But imagine people saying, oh, I can't have more than one child, and if the government finds out that you have more than one child, they come for that child, and I'm assuming destroy that kid. How terrible that must be. But people found a way around it. It was for a reason. So these extreme measures that were taken, what appear as extreme measures to the people outside of that space, not understanding that they were doing this collectively. They were coming together and deciding that they were not going to have any more than one child within each family, because in order for them to attain what they are setting out to attain, then they couldn't have an overpopulation. They couldn't have people having children, focusing on having too many kids that maybe they can't afford. Instead, they want to be able to pool their resources, to go out, to extend their boundaries, come from confines of their space to form alliances. Seek out common ground where they can meet beyond the familiar boundaries that usually define the limits of people like us. I repeat, radically expanding the idea of who we are. Radically, I like the term radically, expanding the idea of who we are. So not just talking about who we are, but taking actions, radical actions to define not what other people see us to be, but what we define ourselves to be. So there's a fellowship that is formed, and the fellowship is that key ingredient that is necessary to create harmony in a space, to expand and to grow. So the fellowship created between people, but also within that inner self. fellowship. You can spend a moment to yourself and you complain that you've got no friends or your friends don't like you, when you yourself don't like yourself either. Because if you liked yourself, you would have been feeling comfortable to spend some silent time, some quiet time alone. You feel like every silent moment has to be filled with the computer, with TV, with the internet, with the phone, with whatever. Not silencing your mind to learn more about who you are in relationship to the universe. So the people who have a common cause or aim or goal, they're brought together in an inner conversation to create strong alliance. So inner conversation, you want it yourself. First you've got to want it for you. And then you find other people who want the same thing that you want. That will drive you, that will push you, that will give you the foundation to stick together and to form or create or search for what you desire. But working together. If you don't have that fire to go out there and achieve whatever it is that you need to achieve, and then find alliances where you can stick to people who have the same drive, the same goal, the same ambition. So if you think of being a student, going to school and you're taking a course, somehow you find a friend within your course that you can study with, or you can, bounce ideas off, or you can brainstorm when you have an assignment. If you go to someone in another department or someone in another course and you even share information about what you're learning, it's not the same. You both have to be in the same place where you want the same thing and you're willing to share ideas, to share your dreams, your goals, to work together to achieve a particular end. Fellowship starts inside and extend out to other persons who have the same goal or the same aim. So that inner conversation is there first, and then you meet other persons with the same mind to create that strong alliance. The term here is alliance. So we look at our Chinese friend around the world and you're thinking, if someone was born in Jamaica of Chinese parents or parentage, and they have been removed from China for hundreds of years, they never stop saying, I'm Chinese. They never stop saying, this is my roots. This is where my people come from. Their pride and joy rest in that inner self. And I understand what slavery have done and this, that, and the other. But again, Chinese also were indentured servants. I mean, it wasn't as critical as African people's slavery. But nevertheless, exploitation is exploitation and suffering is suffering. But out from the ashes, like phoenix, they rose and continue to rise. So strength and energy is in alliance. There's something about forming an alliance with someone who has the same goal, the same aim, the same drive, the same desire to expand or to grow. There's an energy that is there. And it's this energy and this strength that is going to reproduce or produce whatever it is that you desire. People in harmony can commit themselves further. Therefore, they take risk. There's something about having everyone in that group with the same aim, the same ambition, the same drive, feeding on each other's energy to bring about a certain result, and willing to take risk. Because something about that alliance is like you trust each other. You trust yourself first, and you trust everybody else in that group to say, this is what we're going to do. So the Chinese government, for example, will give loans to individuals, a group of people from China, and they're going wherever in the world to expand. They're getting the support of their governments. And when, for example, they go to Jamaica and you're opening a supermarket, instead of me going out and buying my goods from my supermarket, we all come together and we buy it in bulk. and we save money because that is the instruction of their people. And the government of China also says to the countries where they go, well, for our people to come here and do business, for example, in Jamaica, you have to make sure that they don't pay taxes for 5 years. You're mad with the Chinese people for their government looking out for them? You see, it's not just the individual, it's the collective. It's the Chinese nation, the Chinese people, the Chinese race that we have here looking past the eye in this process and looking at who are we going to become? Do you think it's something that just one day some Chinese person get up and just say, I'm going to go to Jamaica and do this? No, it's something that they have been prepared for. It's a revolution, except it's not as bloody as other revolutions in the past. Other persons have gone in conquest, exploration, and taken over places mightily with brute force and blood and death. But the Chinese people understand themselves that they can do it peacefully without anybody even suspecting. Because for one, they're people in harmony. They see themselves as one, each person an extension of the other. So the people in harmony can commit themselves further and take great risk. They can expand, they can explore, they can conquer new territory. And it doesn't have to be bloody. Now here's a critical component of this fellowship. There's harmony when we are brought together in inner conversation to create strong alliance. That's what I've said so far, but I put it in this term. There's harmony when we are brought together in inner conversation to create strong alliance. It's the same with relationships, whether it be a friendship or marital or mother-daughter or whatever relationship. When you're able to create a strong alliance with each other, with the individuals you're working with or you're living with, starting with that inner conversation that says that this one is not my enemy. You see, because we have no inner conversations with ourselves, we can't form strong alliances with people who we don't see as us. So you see one person, for example, in Jamaica, look at the artist. They start coming out and start doing well, and before you know it, the rest of artists are calling up their names, and they don't understand that, wow, the more of us stay in this area of work, the more of us stay in music and work together and share our trade skills and develop each other and support each other. Imagine what will happen to this music. It will take off and our careers will all go wonderfully. No, they don't understand the power of this strong alliance. They just see themselves as individual, me against the world or you against me. As I said before, let me stomp you and get rid of you before you get me. Understand the philosophy of I Ching, and then you understand why the Chinese people or Asian people on a whole are doing so well in the world. People in harmony can commit themselves further, they take greater risk, they can go to faraway places and succeed. Because you see, the Chinese man or woman is not there on her own. She represents her nation that she comes from, and she has a strong backing or support of those who are in positions of power. That's what it takes. So when we have in Africa leaders that are corrupt, that is just gathering things for themselves and their family, and people starve and they're not looking, they don't care about themselves as a people. There's no connection, there's no alliance with them and their own people. The only thing they notice is when other folks come from other race and come in, which oftentimes they invite and oftentimes show that they're willing to defy or to destroy or to betray their own people. There must be an agreement in order for it to be followed, for the dream to be birthed. There must be an agreement. It's very easy to follow a vision tenaciously, with consistency, when you understand that this harmony, this fellowship, this thing that I pursue is not just for selfish gains, but it's to build myself, to build my community. We lack that. It doesn't matter where you go in the world, Black people knows nothing about fellowship, because even some individuals who, love their culture, they even refer to themselves as Pan-African and whatever, they still want to be separated from others who claim they're of like mind. So it's saying, don't waste your time building with individuals who don't share your vision. Don't build with individuals or waste your energy or your time with folks who are not able to, those who don't even have fellowship with themselves. But find people who are of like mind, and that is very difficult to do. And so instead of just looking at the Chinese in Jamaica and looking at other persons that are in Jamaica building, don't envy them or hate them for deciding within themselves that we are going to put aside our differences, whatever differences, internal differences we may have, and build together as a people. They're not allowing other persons to come with their religion to tell them that they're evil and they're born in sin and they're going to die a corrupt life and whatever. They have gone out there and they have examined how as a people they can grow, they can expand. If they're doing things in Jamaica that I perceive to be terrible, I will speak on it. But at the same time, who can you blame? Who's at fault? Who invited the Chinese to Jamaica? Who have given them privileges to do things that people are saying is bad things or whatever? Who? They couldn't have come to Jamaica on their own without the invitation of our governments. And they can't be successful without the support of our people. And I do not in any way say do not support them. I'm saying to myself that what you should do instead of hate on them is to learn from them, to look at their philosophy, the way they think, and see if there is any opportunity for you to understand why they're doing so well in the world. Why, even if people don't like them, they have force to respect them. And believe me, they're respected. People may say negative things, but at the end of the day, you see, people don't appreciate people for the value that they bring in terms of their humanity, but for what they own, what they build, what they got in the bank. Money is power. Black people say, well, the love of money is the root of all evil, and they say stuck on that. And or old people from generations past didn't pursue anything because they said it would be easier for the camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into heaven. And so guess what? The attitude towards pursuing and building and creating a better life for themselves and their generation to come got pushed aside because they're waiting and willing to die to go to heaven, to go walk on a land, invisible land filled with gold, paved with gold. Meantime, other folks in the world that have gone through tribulation and much suffering get up from under that, get up from out of that. And the individuals in our community that are doing very well did not allow themselves to be stripped of that inner power or that ability to recognize someone of like mind to go and pursue their greatest end. Critical. There is harmony when we are brought together in inner conversation to create strong alliance. I leave this for now. Stay blessed.